All right, welcome back. Penguins now get into the hard work of the second half of the season in a very, very competitive Metropolitan Division. 34 games left, and the trade deadline coming up at the end of February. There's always speculation. So, Jason Mackey, we'll start with you. What is the biggest need for the Penguins? And if they don't suspect there is a big enough need, do they just stand pat? Are they good enough as they are to win a Stanley Cup?
I think it is a little bit different this year, Pomp, than it has been in years past. But the position I'm looking at is the one that I think a lot of people talk about is third line center. The complicating part here is that I don't think they feel like they have to do something with that spot. I think they would like to get more out of that position and out of that line. But the problem is that it's just not a great group of free agents or UFAs, rentals to be. And there aren't a ton of great options out there. And I know Jim Rutherford in the next couple of weeks will have to do something with a defenseman. He'll probably or at least look to try to include Tristan Jarry in that. And I would imagine he was going to also listen to offers for Derek Brassard. Does that net him something? Obviously, we don't have a concrete answer to that, but I think they would like to, if Brassard doesn't sort of kick it into gear, get more out of that position. And that's going to be the area you see them address.
Well, if they move Broussard, and I assume that they would, Jason, to a team that thinks he's just a bad fit here and he can be what he was previously, which is a good second-line center, the question that I would have is, can they get a winger back in exchange and get away with more production goal-scoring-wise on a wing for, say, Evgeny Malkin, so that either Cullen or Sheahan can make Kessel a better fit if they are determined to split up the three scoring lines? Like, would that be the end after the means, is what I'm asking.
Well, I don't know if you need to make a move to shake things up necessarily. I think the best thing that could happen to the Penguins in the second half is that Evgeny Malkin from last spring you see arrive, because he obviously has had a very underachieving first half. And, with Justin Schultz returns, maybe that, again, you've got some good production back there from your defenseman. So I don't know if you have to make a move. You look at the division's up for grabs. I don't know if there's anybody, maybe the Islanders that might go all in. The Caps aren't going to go out and make some massive move. They're the Stanley Cup champions, and they played pretty well until stubbing their toe the week before the break. So I think really they don't have to. Jason's right. I don't think there necessarily has to be, there isn't one glaring weakness. When they play good, they're one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the league, and when they don't, they're average. And I think their reputation is they're a good second-half team, and I think that we'll see that.
Can they survive here? And when I say survive, by winning a cup without Evgeny Malkin, as we saw him at the end of last year, instead the Evgeny Malkin we've seen so far this year, which has a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs with regard to giveaways and not being a 200-foot kind of guy. So, Tim, your take on 71 as it is right now?
Oh, I think that's a bigger deal than adding a new piece or moving Broussard to get a new piece. It's getting the Evgeny Malkin back of old. I think that's a much bigger deal. And by the way, Jason, I was legitimately asking that question.
And I wanted to legitimately answer it too.
I was really asking, like, is that a better path to go?
I don't know if it's a better path. It depends on who you can get. But the name that pops in my mind is Michael Ferland from Carolina. And if they could get him for, I don't know, Tristan Jarry and Derek Brassard, yes, I absolutely think that's something they would entertain. The way it was put to me, Tim, and everybody else, is they want more production from that third line. They don't care how they get it. It could be Santa Claus centering the third line. They don't care. It's just they have to get more than they're getting now.
You look at a team like Columbus, they're in an awkward situation. And, Will, the Islanders, even without Tavares, have been outstanding. And Barry Trotz has done a great job with that team. They got a lot of speed built around Matthew Barzal. We saw him with Sidney Crosby last night. But what do, Columbus, if they're going to win a division, they're going to need their 2-star players, at least the 2 that we know of that are unrestricted in the year, Panarin and Bobrovsky. Yet both seem to not be interested in re-signing with them. So if you're in charge of their team, what do you do?
I haven't seen enough good hockey from them this season for extended stretches to think that they're a legitimate threat to make a run. They've never made a run, right? That's their history. So
never won a playoff series.
Right. So if you're looking at is this the year? I don't know what you would see on the ice that would lead you to believe that this is going to be the year where they're going to. Especially when the Islanders have taken a step forward, when the Capitals have avoided a slump for the most part. And the Penguins have sort of,
well, not right now.
Well,
lost like 7 in a row, right?
No, they had a couple bad. Their goaltending has sucked for like a week.
Yes, it has.
But I just don't see anything with the Blue Jackets where you're thinking, well, this is the group. So you might. If I'm those guys, I don't. There's no crime if they get a good offer for either one of those guys if they move them, and I think you can sell the future.
Well, trade them to Pittsburgh then. Give Panarin to Pittsburgh and take whatever assets Pittsburgh is going to give you and use those assets against the Penguins down the road. I'm sure he'd be welcome here.
Yeah, I'm right with you there, Tim. I don't think that deal's going to happen, but especially not after what happened with Jack
Schwartz
Johnson.
and Rutherford this year, yeah, that'd be fun.
Oh, my goodness, no. You know what? It's a tough situation, too, because I legitimately don't think either one of those guys wants to stay in Columbus, but I don't think that Columbus looks at this situation the way we're looking at it. Like, they still think that they're going to go to the playoffs, make a run, and they're going to be just fine. But I don't think that Panarin or Bobrovsky sees themselves as a long-term fit. And so you have to sort of,
but you know, last year they were up 3-0 on the Capitals, and they were in a position to make a little bit of a run, and they collapsed in overtime. I think it was in that next game. So anyway, now it's time to go around the horn. This week's Smooth Moves brought to you by Pittsburgh's largest supplier of the smoothest granite, marble, and quartz countertops. You know them, Armina Stone. Top to bottom, Will, your Smooth Move of the Week.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I know I just lost half the audience here. My Smooth Move of the Week, Jeff Capel for getting Jay-Z to show up at the Pitt-Duke game. And yeah, he showed up to watch Zion Williamson, but he could have gone and watched Zion in any other place. He came to Pittsburgh, and the zoo was crazy. I thought it was a great atmosphere the first time in a long time with the Pete.
Am I up?
You're up.
All right. I'm going to give mine to Adidas, actually, as weird as that sounds. But after the NHL All-Star stuff, I don't know how much you guys follow this, but Brianna Decker and Kendall Coyne-Schofield and the women from Team USA and Team Canada Hockey was awesome. I wish the NHL would have paid Brianna as she would have been deserved, but Adidas steps in and is paying them, sponsoring them. So cool move by Adidas.
I'm going to go with Houston quarterback Deshaun Watson, who figured out the impossible. He figured out a way to make Jalen Ramsey even more insufferable by throwing him a touchdown pass at the end of the Pro Bowl. So now he has something else to yap about on Instagram and Twitter.
Those are the Smooth Moves of the Week, brought to you by Armina Stone. They feature Pittsburgh's largest indoor stone gallery of granite, marble countertops imported from all over the world to give you the smoothest countertops in your area. Score a touchdown now with new granite countertops from Armina Stone. Next up, the Pirates. What are they going to do this year? Next.